Welcome to the TMZ podcast. Derek here with Edward from our sports desk. We are filling in for the Charlies. Charlie Cotton is out sick. Charlie Neff is, I believe, on a cruise ship somewhere if you check out her Instagram. So we're who you're stuck with. But join us here on the TMZ Audio Network channel on YouTube. Drop your comments. If we can get to them at the end of the show, we will answer what we can. So let's dive into it. We've got a 3-pack of stories. I think they're pretty interesting. The very first one, we got Justin Bieber news about a new album. We've got some Diddy news about him still fighting his conviction under the Mann Act. Even though he won the big case, he wants it all thrown out. And then we have Donald Trump and Rosie O'Donnell going at it. And we'll finish up with that. But first, let's start, Edward, with Justin Bieber. Now, Justin Bieber just announced that he is releasing his 8th studio album, which he's titling Swag 2. You may remember he released Swag 1 not that long ago. What was it, Ed? Like a couple
weeks ago. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago. So that one is still like simmering and doing what it's doing. I think it got some critical acclaim, but Swag 2 is much poppier, right? Is my understanding. And news broke that he is releasing this. Now, the timing of it is interesting for 2 reasons. One, because Swag 1 is basically released a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and now he's following it. Why not just release a double album? He clearly had all this music. And 2, what's going on with the timing with respect to his wife, Hailey Bieber?
Yeah, so which one do you want to get into first?
First, walk me through the music, just quickly.
Okay.
So Swag 1 is out. People like it. Is it disappointed?
It was great.
Okay.
If you're a TikTok consumer now,
I love TikTok.
We're a little different algorithms, but on almost every young Gen Z's video, one of his songs is playing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's how popular it is. Like the Gen Z crowd really likes it. It's kind of like a popular.
Is there a sense Bieber's back? Like this wasn't a huge disappointment that he's done.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
But it's like Bieber used to be known for banger, 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 and these are very good songs that are more like kind of you're on a boat and you're a little sway.
Solid. This is Dad Bieber.
It's great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
It's not like in the club rage Bieber. It's at a kickback with some beers in the garage.
Gotcha. So you would be excited about Swag 2 coming out. You don't feel duped in any way that
I would.
He didn't just put it on one album.
I would, and I think it's important because I feel like this could be like a Taylor Swift style precedent where instead of releasing one album with 30 songs, let's release 2 albums with 15 songs within 6 weeks of each other and really capitalize on all the money of it. Right?
Could be really smart. And the corner of the market.
Okay, I think that's a pretty big deal.
So maybe a savvy move. We'll see if people like the tracks. Any buzz on any of the tracks yet? Or
I hadn't heard any of these.
Okay.
I know the Daisies is like the big one from the first one. That's one that kind of plays on all the TikTok stuff. Yukon is big too from the first one. So I mean, he has 2 or 3 hits from that first one that he's got huge, momentum. Huge. Yeah. So I think this could change music. I really do. I love it. Every few weeks you could just release a new album and just even if it's 5, 6, 7, 8 songs.
He's had this sort of bumpy road, the scooter stuff and his money and him saying I'm standing on business, all that stuff. It's good to see him just back into music. This is where his strong suit is. So let's see if
I'm excited. Yeah. The bigger point though that I want to get into is his wife, Hailey, right? Again, I don't know how much you've been involved in this algorithm of TikTok, but amongst the younger generation, or I guess amongst the social media tinfoil hatters, is that he low-key hates Hailey.
Okay, wow. That's heavy, because it's his wife and mother of his child.
Right, there's a lot of if you go to TikTok and you go to the kind of the dark circles of TikTok, there's videos of him. Do you remember when Ben Affleck slammed the door on J-Lo?
Yes,
it's a lot of those kinds of moments, where he appears to snarl at her, or he does things to upstage her. I think remember the Vogue magazine when she got on the cover of Vogue and he wrote a comment that was I told her once she sucked and she would never make it.
Yes,
just little things like that.
Little bits of tension
insinuate that they have some sort of beef, right? Well, today Bieber is doing absolutely nothing to beat those allegations because she launched her partnership with Sephora. She has her Rhode brand. I don't know if
Rhode Beauty.
He actually sings about it that my girl has a iPhone case in one of the, I think it's Daisy's, I don't know, one of these.
And her company may be worth $1 billion. There's reports of that. She's doing well.
So it's a big deal for her today that she was, I believe she was out in Times Square today with Sephora launching this whole thing. It's like a big moment for her. Her brand is big deal. She got products.
It looks like he's competing or stealing her
right. And on my girl's day, by the way, I'm dropping an album. Don't look at her, look at me. And
that is fascinating because the Bieber I see, I'm not familiar with all of this Justin secretly hates Hailey stuff. What I see sometimes is maybe a little bit of tension, a little bit of maturing and becoming a dad and sort of resisting growing up, but then he'll post these lovey-dovey posts of her.
Sure, yeah.
And they're all snuggled up. Can I tell you what my take is? My take is that this is marriage, man. Like, this is like, you are young enough or haven't been married yet to see that, like, oh, he must hate his wife. It's not that you hate your wife. It's just that there's tension. This is a person who you are the closest with and also in the most tension with. That's what a marriage is. And I know we joke about, my marriage and all this kind of stuff, but like, it's true. You're just like, you love and hate that person because they're just the biggest presence in your life overall. And look, they seem to have a happy family. Maybe he is stealing her thunder. The other read is maybe he's trying to ride a wave of like Hailey and Justin consume all media. Like, we corner the music, we corner the makeup. All you're thinking about is us, and they want to like sort of dominate for a moment. Possible,
that's
right?
Absolutely what it is. I mean, like you said, I think anybody that lives with anybody inevitably is tired of them over brief periods of time. But I do think he loves her, and I don't think this was any attempt to sabotage her. I think it's more of what you said. It's the ability to ride both of our waves.
Yes,
and we'll both be successful.
I think he's also, just one last point. I do think Justin, because Hailey's gotten so much buzz over Road Beauty and how much it's worth, there were all those headlines. He's a little bit, one thing of like, maybe not competition, but like asserting himself that I'm still Justin Bieber. And I just want to remind everyone that I am Justin Bieber. She was Hailey Bieber. It was a big deal that she married me. I'm the big superstar. I'm not Hailey's husband. I'm Justin Bieber. All right, let's move on a little bit to Diddy. Some Diddy news. So Diddy is still fighting for acquittal or a new trial on the things he was convicted of. Remember, he beat the sex trafficking charge. He beat the RICO charges, but he was convicted of 2 counts of the Mann Act. And the Mann Act was transporting people for the purposes across state lines for the purposes of prostitution. Now, this word is where all the battling is, because Diddy's lawyers are saying, this is ridiculous. You guys are the feds are applying the wrong definition of prostitution. They're applying this very modern definition of sex for hire. When the Mann Act was passed, according to Diddy, the definition was way different. It was about sex outside of marriage. And the whole thing was about morality. We were in 1910, it was a concern over, men sleeping outside of the marriage or women cheating on their husbands outside of the marriage, not about hiring a prostitute for sex. So the reason they're harping on this is they're saying, Diddy didn't do this. Diddy was not married to Cassie. He was not married to Jane, the one who testified anonymously. These were consensual adults. He hired escorts, but he hired them for their time, not for sex. And he was kind of a voyeur. He liked to sort of record it sometimes. He liked to watch Cassie or Jane have sex with other men. But this is not what the Mann Act is about. The Mann Act is about the man who is being prosecuted having sex outside of marriage with the person, not about sex for hire. What do you think of that? How does that strike you?
As a not lawyer, I think it feels petty. It feels nitpicky. I feel like over time the Mann Act definition has changed, and if we're going back to like the 1910 version, sure.
Yes,
but we're not.
Here's what it is. It's super clever. He has very high-priced lawyers. This is an egghead argument. I loved going to law school and thinking about like, oh, well, actually, he didn't violate it in the sense of the original statute. He's only violated it in how we think of prostitution now. It's too eggheady. I don't think he's going to win and overturn a jury verdict of a conviction. But you file these things to like lay out these arguments, and it'll probably be rejected by Judge Subramanian. He will be sentenced on October 3rd. But you preserve these arguments for appeal because the eggheads are in the appellate courts. And sometimes they look at this stuff and they're like, oh, that is very interesting. Maybe we should take this argument seriously. I don't think you win these in trial court. It's fascinating to see very, very rich lawyers and very, very powerful, skilled prosecutors, because the SDNY is the best prosecutors, clashing. And that's what you're really getting here is a battle. These are rarely granted. I think he will be sentenced. I think he might appeal it, and you see these arguments in an appellate court. But for now, this is it.
I will say, too, as a sports writer who's not really consumed by this and not a lawyer or anything, I do find that their argument of he's just a voyeur does play a little bit.
It feels compelling to you.
I do. Like, obviously, the Cassie stuff was horrific, but that was not what he was
convicted of,
charged with, or convicted of.
Yes.
A lot of it was, I think, and we've heard the joke in here a lot, was like, oh my God, we got all the baby oil off the streets.
Yes.
And it does feel that way.
The voyeur stuff hits you. Does the stuff where he's like, I didn't buy sex, I bought company. Escorts don't, you pay them for their company. Ever heard an escort say that? It's kind of sophistry, though. It's like silly. It's not a real argument. Of course you're hiring them for sex. And that's why the prosecutor's like, are you kidding me?
I don't necessarily see that either, because I've known people who've hired like people for dates. You know what I mean? Not necessarily. There's not necessarily sex is implied or whatever. It's just like, I want to look good at a party. Or
you think that's what Diddy was doing, or he was hiring them?
No, but I think his argument
to a hotel and do like some.
He can argue that, and I don't have to. not believe him per se. I don't know. I feel like this whole thing was bungled by prosecutors in my opinion.
I do feel like now we're at the point where it's like, if this is all they got, it does start to feel a little icky, and let's move on.
Exactly,
Either you sentence him or whatever, but you didn't get the big conviction.
I completely agree.
All right, so let's finish up with Donald Trump. He's always in the news in some way or another, but I find this one interesting because his biggest adversary is always Rosie O'Donnell, and now he is revisiting the idea of reigniting this feud and saying, I'm considering, and the U.S. is considering giving serious thought to revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. Now, Rosie O'Donnell is trying to get Irish citizenship. She's one of the few people who have said, I don't like where America's at. Yeah. I'm leaving the country. People used to say that, but then never leave. Now they actually leave. Ellen left, Rosie left. Yeah. They're like, I don't like what's going on. She's trying to get Irish citizenship. And he is saying, I'm going to try to take her, citizenship. He shared this unflattering photo of her. It was like a distorted, fat-faced image of Rosie and said, she's not a great American and is, in my opinion, incapable of being so. That's how he's saying she doesn't deserve to be a citizen. Rosie, who is very, very smart, say what you will about her politics if you don't like them, she said, don't be fooled, basically. She said, this is a distraction. I'm the distraction. Epstein survivors are the reckoning, and your gold lame throne is melting. What she is saying is, you can't shake that the news is still obsessed with your involvement with Epstein. You can keep releasing files. You can keep releasing videos, but everyone is obsessed with your connection to this, and you can't shake it, so you're just trying to distract and talk about Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship.
That's what it feels like, honestly, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think this works
Why
for
else
his
are you
team.
Bringing this out?
It's bizarre.
Yeah,
it's bizarre for the president of the United States to fight Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, to shake it over here. Look at this thing, so you don't look at this thing, right? I will say, though, that how funny is it? How sad is it that we've evolved to this point where our president is flame-throwing a has-been celebrity.
It's bizarre.
And we're literally, like, it's the C block of our show. We're debating whether or not we should even talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, in any other era or decade, if
it would be the biggest piece of news if Rosie O'Donnell was in a beef on Twitter with Barack Obama.
But exactly, that's what I mean. And, we have devolved to this point where it's totally normal and acceptable for the president to just be...
This is truly the thing he's done. He has normalized this behavior to such an extent that him flaming Rosie O'Donnell and threatening to revoke her citizenship. You know how staggering that is? Rosie O'Donnell was born in the United States. She has Irish heritage. Yeah. She's a citizen. Yeah. She was born here. It's bizarre that this becomes like the source of debate. Oh, could her citizenship be revoked? What? What are we talking about?
It is crazy. It's crazy to see where politics have evolved to now. And you see Newsom kind of getting involved in it a little bit now too, right?
Yes, he's sort of getting in the mud with him.
Everybody, they're seeing it like this is the playbook to possibly being elected to something someday. And it's just wild.
It's really the devolution of democracy. I mean, I don't want to be too sort of like catastrophizing what's going on, but this is remarkable for the reasons you said, because if you take a step back, we've never been in a moment. We've had weird presidents. We have presidents who spoke like George W. Bush. We used to make fun of Bushism. Never to this extent. And, I always like to have some perspective and say, we've had clownish presidents. Let's have some perspective. This feels different than anything in my lifetime, anything in my grandparents' lifetime.
And it's so accepted, too. Like, we're like, oh, yeah, cool. He made fun of Rosie. Like,
he made fun of Rosie. He was like convicted of several things before going to the White House. Yeah, and now he pardons everyone. It's
Cowboys
bizarre.
play tonight, right? Like, it
moves on.
It's bizarre, dude.
All right, that'll do it for us. We do have a few comments, so let's go to a couple of them before we leave. We say, Ashley M is saying, if Swag 2 is pop, sign me up. I like that because he should get back to pop. The other one was a little bit critically acclaimed. This is
I feel that way about Taylor Swift too. Like all the Dead Poets Society,
whatever,
Society was boring. And I want to be in a club listening to Taylor.
Make
you know
a banger. The fact that she was working with Max Martin again was the best news of all.
Yeah, he's a big pop. The best part of that podcast.
All right, I was gonna say Taylor Swift releases the same album 19 times. At least this is different music. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's the other side.
Everybody's trying to find that game of how can I make this album be the most successful ever. And Taylor's, I'm releasing Taylor's version. I'm releasing this version.
That's right. And you're right. It's a balance. They want to be, I'm a credible artist because that also appeals to people, but then make a pop song. Katy Perry goes too pop and people are like, you're empty. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Passive aggressive, maybe they'll settle in together in a few years if they choose to stick it out. This is MM commenting on the relationship between Hailey and the Biebers. I don't know. Your read is as speculative as mine. Yeah. Marcy says, see, you're a Cowboy fan at Edward Lewis. What do you think of the Parsons trade? I don't know. That's wonky.
Micah Parsons goes to the Green Bay Packers from the Cowboys in exchange for Kenny Clark and 2 first-round picks.
Okay. You happy?
He is the best non-quarterback outside of Deion and maybe Deion Sanders and maybe Larry Allen that the Cowboys have ever had in the history of their franchise.
This is you convincing yourself that it's the Micah Parsons debacle.
It's really sad. It's really sad. But I will say you do not trade that. Yeah. So there's obviously something behind the scenes that's going on. Whether he's a cancer in the locker room or whether he's just a terrible person, whether he wanted too much money and he didn't want to be there. He's laying on training tables. You had to do it. I'm super sad, though. He's so
It feels
good.
very sad, but you're right. The proof will be, like, how does Micah Parsons do outside of the – if he's a stud and he's, like, an all-time talent – it's going to look bad for the Cowboys, but if he's like a middling sort of dude and they scored this.
And I think the Cowboys see that because you don't trade that. Like, if you think that he's going to be that, you don't trade that. So they clearly think that his off-the-field issues or in the locker room issues are more that's going to lead to him having a lesser
You believe in Jerry Jones, we trust.
I hope, man.
All right, last comment. Sass1000 says, I love this podcast and Inside the Ring, our new wrestling podcast with Branson Quirk. Tune into that. It's Jelly Roll's favorite podcast. He commented on, that he loves this wrestling podcast. Branson is very knowledgeable, so check that out, and we'll see you next time.